We are live on YouTube and TikTok. Folks, I am sick right now, but nonetheless, I have time to stream, to grind, all that fun stuff. So listen, if you disagree with the text that I have above my head, if you think that Donald Trump is looking out for regular people, let's have a conversation, let's have a debate, right? You can call in on the number above, or you can send in a guest request and we can have that debate, we can have that discussion. It's always talked about this notion of the free marketplace of ideas. Well, folks, you have just stepped into the so-called free marketplace of ideas, and you can be heard. Just put on my stream. I'll make sure everything. All right, audio is good. Just put on my stream. I'll make sure everything. All right, folks. If you think that Donald Trump is looking out for regular working people, if you think that my prompt, my position is incorrect, then let's have a conversation. Let's have a debate. You can send in a guest request, and you can send in, or you can call into the number if you're seeing this on YouTube. Either way works. The tariffs were just put in, and that's a bit messy. It's going to make for some tough times for a lot of people. But maybe you support the tariffs. Maybe you think the tariffs are going to help the American economy. And if you do think that, you can send in a guest request on TikTok. Or if you're on YouTube, you can call the number above my head. And we can have that debate. We can have that discussion here in the free marketplace of ideas. Right? If you got some questions as well, feel free to ask. Also, I will just let it be known that I am under the weather. I am sick right now. But nonetheless, it is, I got some time. So if I got some time, why not use the time? Grinding, you know? Grinding. But folks, if you have a disagreement, feel free to send in a guest request. Feel free to call in. Let me make sure I have the multi-guest open for TikTok. The Google Voice is open for those who want to call in. Where'd the multi-guest go? There you go. Send in a guest request or call the number above my head, and you can explain to me why I'm misunderstanding the benefits of Donald Trump. I personally don't think he's all that great, but some people do, and I understand that there's a difference. Audio's not working? Hold up. Audio's not working on TikTok? Thank you for telling me. I might reset. Oh, yeah, it's not working. Hold up. Hold up. There you go. Hello, hello. Hello. Can you guys hear me on TikTok? CJ Jensen, shout out to you. You're the one that let me know. Thank you. Bella Berry, welcome to the stream. Appreciate you. Well, folks, what I've been saying for a while is, if you disagree with the prompt above my head and you think that Donald Trump is looking out for regular people, I humbly disagree. But I want to give you the opportunity to share why. We can have that debate. We can be experiencing this so-called marketplace of ideas, right? If you're on YouTube, you can call the number in above my head. If you're on TikTok, you can send in a guest request. Hit that multi-guest button, and we can have a real good conversation. CJ Jensen said, I'm going to follow you because of the shout-out, also because I agree. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. You could also, I would recommend, subscribe to the YouTube channel because that's where I'm a bit more active. I stream a lot more on YouTube because the numbers are just better there usually, a little bit later on. And they have a lot less rules, you know, so there's no risk, or not as much risk of getting in trouble. Ethan, subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much, Ethan. But folks, if you agree or disagree, ask some questions. If you disagree, I would recommend that you call in. Hit the guest request button. And by the way, I would like to add that I am a little under the weather. I'm a little sick, so my voice isn't quite as strong. I'm a little congested, all that stuff. But I was like, why am I not out here grinding when I got the time, you know? But listen, if you think that Donald Trump is looking out for you, you think that He's looking out for the regular working class person. If you think that the tariffs are going to help America and help the economy, then let me know. Let's have that debate. Let's have that discussion. It's kind of interesting, the narrative that MAGA has been pushing regarding the tariffs has kind of flipped a little bit, you know. Um, During the campaign, you had mostly people saying that the tariffs are good, actually. When he became president during the transition, or, well, he wasn't president yet, but when he won the presidency, during the transition, a lot of people were saying that the tariffs are just a negotiation tactic. It's not serious. No, of course, we understand it's inflationary. But now, a lot of conservatives are back to talking about the merits of tariffs and saying it's good. When asked if he would visit the water plane crash site, he said, "I'm not going swimming." That's crazy. Yeah, I did see that clip, but that's a ridiculous thing to say. Me, a Republican or Democrat, I am personally a Democrat. Unsurprisingly, critical of Donald Trump, but I don't necessarily vote because of the party. I vote because of the policy, and there's just some policies I agree with more on the Democratic side than the Republican side. What was your favorite debate moment? Well, from the last debate or so, I would say the concepts of a plan was just hilarious. It really goes to show. It's been, 8 years since he became president, back in 2016, and he doesn't have a healthcare plan. The person says, future Dow Jones down 700, but but Trump is my daddy, MAGA. Yeah, certainly a lot more instability in the market we can expect. And even beyond the market, because I don't always feel like the market is the best indicator of how we're going to be doing, the prices are going to go up. There's just no getting around that. If Donald Trump sticks with the tariffs, of course we're going to also see retaliatory tariffs. It's going to be real bad. Cole asked what makes you side with the Democrats more than the Republicans. Well, personally, I care about things like manufacturing. I care about things like labor. Even under Biden, who wasn't my ideal Democratic president, we saw a National Labor Relations Board that oftentimes sided with workers and was fair. We saw 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. We saw an infrastructure plan. Donald Trump promised he'd do infrastructure. He didn't do infrastructure the first term. Donald Trump promised that he would get rid of the bad trade deals. He didn't. He also promised to bring the manufacturing jobs back, and he didn't. Promised that he would get the trade deficit down. The trade deficit went up. So any decent thing that he promised, he really didn't keep. And with Democrats, even if they're not my ideal candidate, generally, even if it's just a person that is really not my ideal, say like Hillary Clinton, I would prefer to vote for them over Donald Trump for simple harm reduction. Yeah, but that's not me saying that. Oh wait, hold on. There's someone requesting to be on. All right, Modality, you're on. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I don't know if you'd be interested in discussing abortion, but I mean, I think the Democrats are kind of crazy with that one. I mean, abortion is obviously.
I'm not particularly interested in abortion, but I would say that I understand that emotions are high with abortion. Democrats really just represent the compromise position. I mean, if we were to just Roe v. Wade was the compromise. Like I understand, not being supportive of say third trimester abortions just sort of electively, right? But Roe v. Wade was that middle ground that said states can put restrictions on it. But women that were raped still have to be able to get the care that they need, So
Could I maybe
the
give an
Democrats really
analogy?
aren't the extreme. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Imagine during slavery, we had one side who wanted to abolish slavery and the other side who
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do whatever they wanted with the slaves. Imagine another quote unquote middle ground came up and said, "Hey, look, you can own black people, just don't hit them,
Mm-hmm.
but you
No,
can
I
still
don't.
own
I
them
don't
and
view
do
that as
something."
analogous.
You would
So,
obviously,
you can.
well, look,
I understand. Like, look,
yeah.
people have differences in perspective of what they view personhood. I don't. I'm not really interested in a personhood debate. I personally do not have the position that early in the process of a pregnancy that the sperm and the egg are a baby, right, or a person. Ultimately, most abortions happen super early, before it's ever developed. I think there was a person I respect. They were talking about some parts of the brain connecting and so on and so forth. I'm not even going to get into that. But I do understand restrictions on third trimester abortion, elective
Well,
ones.
I feel like it should be
And
banned
yeah,
entirely. I feel like it should be
Yeah, I
banned.
mean that's a super unpopular position. I
I mean, I
mean,
could give an
you can
argument.
advocate for that, but
Well, hold on.
do you think that people that were like, oh, this is TikTok, sorry, graped, do you think that they should be required to give birth?
No, but that's only 2% of cases. I think.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you don't have the position that it should be banned entirely,
Yeah, not
because
entirely.
yes, yeah.
I feel
So
like that
okay,
concept.
I understand. I understand where you're coming from. That you believe there should
Okay.
be restrictions,
hmm
but that's why there is middle ground
I'm not
positions.
sure
You
why a
know.
woman. I'm not sure why a woman who consents to intercourse, who's having a healthy pregnancy, should have the right to
Hmm.
terminate a child, even like the
Yeah,
first 10 weeks. I feel like
yeah.
that seems like a fair position.
Well, you can feel that way, but
Well, do you have an argument
I
for why
don't
that's?
particularly care about it,
I mean,
about the early weeks.
I can maybe explain to you why it's kind of bad to do that, right? Well, the child has some very valuable properties at the moment of conception, right? And it's the property of having future valuable experiences, right? And
Yeah, I don't particularly care though. I'm gonna be honest.
well, don't you think that pleasure is like an intrinsic value?
I don't care about intrinsic values
Okay, wait. So then, wait. Why is a woman who got raped? Why is she worthy of protection? Why should we protect a woman
because
like
she's
that?
alive
Because she's
and she got
alive.
raped
And why should we protect a woman like that?
because they got raped
Because they got. And why should we care?
because they got raped.
You're repeating yourself. I'm asking why we should
Yeah,
care.
I think you would care if you got raped, right?
Well, the reason I'd care is because it causes a lot of negative emotions. It causes pain, and it deprives me of experiencing pleasure. Right.
Yeah,
So
you
it
could
all
try to
kind of comes down.
intellectualize it, but I don't really need to intellectualize rape. You know, people just
Well,
don't like rape.
it just comes down to pleasure and pain, right? And what I'm trying to get at here is that the same reason why the woman has the right not to be essayed is because she's an
Hmm.
individual who can experience pain and pleasure, and the same is true for the zygote, right? Eventually, the zygote will
Well,
also
some
be able
people
to,
disagree with that.
that the zygote will not be able to experience pain and pleasure. Well, that's
No,
obviously
I mean
false.
some people, but so you're putting like personhood on it. You're putting
I'm
like
not putting
value on it.
personhood on it. Well, it
Again,
has features.
I don't really
It does
personally
have
care
that.
about the early trimester. I understand limitations on the third trimester. That's why I'm for Roe v.
Well,
Wade
you haven't
because it
really
allowed
given.
conservative states to put restrictions on third trimester abortions, so not all elective abortions can happen. That's literally the compromise. I understand people like the pro-life position ultimately, but for people like yourself that are genuinely very much against early abortions and so on and so forth, I would just recommend not getting an abortion. You know,
Imagine,
and
yeah, imagine doing slavery. I said,
yeah.
just
Yeah,
you don't
again,
have to own
I don't
black. You
view
don't have
that.
to.
I think if you
You don't
went to
have to own
most
blacks
people,
yourself, but you should stop your
if
friends
you
from owning
compared
blacks.
abortion to slavery, it's ridiculous.
I
And
think it's
even
a very
then,
fair comparison.
you're arguing that there are some slavery based on your logic. That's okay.
Well, the point I'm trying to make
So
here
you
is that
recognize though that these are very different things. If you say that there are some
no,
abortions, that's okay.
there's some instances of slavery that's permissible under my view,
Really?
like prison systems are considered slavery.
I'm personally just against slavery completely.
Well,
Because I
surely
don't view,
you're
I
okay with
think yeah.
locking up a grape. Surely you're okay with locking up a rapist and maybe forcing them to do labor, right?
I don't think they should be forced to do labor.
So
I'm not for
you have an ethical
slavery.
issue with forcing someone.
I think
Wait,
all
hold
work
on.
should be paid, you know?
You have an ethical issue with forcing a man who forced himself upon a woman to do work,
Yeah, I'm just against
but you don't
slavery.
have an ethical issue with
I
unaliving
think
a
it's a
human
pretty
being.
simple position. If I don't like slavery, then I don't like slavery.
Hold on. I just want to.
You on the other hand compared slavery to abortion, said there's some slavery that's
I just.
okay. So, I mean, you have a
It's kind of
complex position and I
interesting.
respect your position, but I completely disagree. I think
Well,
slavery in general is just bad.
so you think it's you draw the ethical line at when a
At
man forces
slavery.
himself upon a woman, you have an
Yeah.
ethical issue with forcing this guy to do labor, but you don't
Yeah.
have an ethical issue with terminating an innocent human life.
I
Don't you
don't
see
consider it a human life.
that's definitely a human and alive. That's a biological consensus right there.
I don't consider it a life.
Doesn't it seem kind of
But
odd
again,
to
I mean, you're a bit inconsistent. You're for abortion. Um,
in 2% of
you know,
cases? Yeah, but let's talk about the
yeah, just
98.
like you're for slavery, and honestly, at
Yeah, that
that
makes
point,
sense.
that's where we can kind of agree to disagree because I'm not going to be moved
I'm
on
okay
being
with
a for slavery in any case,
I'm okay
and
with
I assume
forcing a man.
you're not gonna be moved to the compromise position, and that's perfectly fine.
Well, hold
But
on. I just want to
yeah.
specify. I'm okay with forcing a man who forced himself onto a woman to do labor. I think
Yeah,
that's a pretty
I'm
reasonable
just
position.
against slavery.
It's just
Period.
kind of odd that you draw the line
I'm
there.
just against slavery. You
All
know, and if
right.
I say I'm against all forms of slavery, and you are including that as a form of slavery, then I'm against it.
Well, obviously, you like it's okay to force someone to save someone's life. That's forced labor, right? You're okay with that. So obviously, you're okay with forced labor in some
I'm
instances.
okay to force someone to save someone's life. What, you think I'm gonna
Yeah,
force
like
someone
if
to be
there's
a
like a child,
firefighter?
if there's like a child drowning in the pool and like someone walks by, obviously you'd
And if
force
there's a
them to
person,
save the
if there's
child.
a person that can't swim, I'm not gonna tell them to go swim and die
No, but if
and
they
have two
can
people
swim,
die.
if they can swim, then you'd force them to save the child, right?
I would recommend that they do. I'm not gonna say
No, you
that
would
they're
force.
committing a crime. I'm not forcing anybody to do anything.
Wait, just to be clear, you wouldn't
If you're
force
trying,
someone
if
to
you're
save a
trying to
child
say
who's
that there is,
drowning?
if I have the position
What?
against forced labor, if you have a position against slavery, and you're trying to make different complex, oh, this is the good slavery, this is the good forced labor, I'm not gonna force someone to do that.
Wait, so you have an
You
ethical
can you can
objection?
make a
Wait,
hyper
I have a
specific.
question.
Hypothetically, what if there was a baby drowning? Can you then whip a person in the back and save them? Well, I don't want to whip him in the back. And then you're
Okay,
just like, oh, but you don't
maybe I have
have
a
to whip
better
in the back.
question.
Yeah, I'm just against slavery, buddy. I
Okay,
think
this
most
this will
people would
probably
have
my
that
last. This will
position.
probably be my last question for all intents and purposes. If a child was
Uh huh.
being anally raped, and the only way to save him was for someone to do the labor to call the police, do you think that you should force them to call the police, or do
Sure.
you,
Yes. If someone sees someone being raped, they should probably call the police.
and you're okay with forcing them to call the police?
What is forcing them to call the police? Putting a gun to their head when
Yeah,
I could just do it on the phone?
simply
You're
making
making
it illegal
this.
for them
You're
not to do
making
it.
absolutely ridiculous hypotheticals,
Well, come on, you should
and
answer the
it
question.
shows how insane your position is. You're coming here and be like, aren't the
How is it?
Democrats so extreme on abortion? And I explain to you the
Well, you
Democrats'
think it's
position is
wrong
a compromise
to?
position that allows the pro-life people to put restrictions on certain types of abortion, but protects the abortion that you're in favor of, abortion due to rape. And you're making some hyper-specific things. Well, what if you could force a rapist to go into the water to save the life of baby Martin Luther King? You're ridiculous, and that's the same
Yeah,
thing
but
as your position.
you agree
But I
that
don't
forced
think we're gonna
slavery.
come to an agreement because you're
Well, it
not
seems like
interested
you
in having a
concede that.
conversation.
Well,
You're
it
interested
seems
in
like.
having some philosophical discussion, and that's
Well,
why
hold
some
on.
people like
It's,
you will never be on the forefront of actual political decisions
well,
because
hold
you're an
on. It seems like.
extremist.
Hold on.
So
It seems
I
like you
don't think there's
conceded.
much. I don't think there's
Well, you
much
conceded to me, right?
conversation we can
You
have.
conceded that it was okay to
I
force
didn't
someone to do
concede on
labor.
anything. I
You said it was
completely.
okay to force
I think your
someone.
analogies are
Well,
unanalogous or not
you,
analogous.
well, you
Okay,
for you
so
said
I
that it was okay
dismiss
to
your
force.
hypotheticals
Come
completely.
on, man,
I
calm down.
disagree with your analogy, and I think you're an
So what's
extremist.
disanalogous with my hypothetical? What's the dissymmetry?
Yeah, I think that slavery is just
Uh-huh.
bad. And you're saying, well,
That's
what if
not
you did
telling me
this
what the
hyper specific
dissymmetry
thing and
is.
this, that, or the other? First, it was like, should we
Come
force
on, man.
prisoners into slavery? And I say no. And then you're
Could you
like,
repeat the
okay,
question I
but
asked you?
hypothetically, what if there was a baby being raped and this, that, or the other? That's why nobody likes you fucking philosophy
Could
people.
you
That's why
could you repeat
nobody
the
likes
question?
philosophy. Because it's
Could
people
I?
like you that make the most fucking extreme shit and you're like, this is actually a
Uh,
reasonable,
could you
this
repeat
is
the
actually a
question I asked?
reasonable analogy.
Come on,
So
man.
honestly, we're already at a
Nathan,
place when we're not
come
going to
on, man.
come to a
You gotta
conclusion
answer the
because you're
question,
coming
right?
in bad faith.
Do you
So
know
I
the
think
question
you
I?
should go fuck
You're not
yourself. You
answering the
know,
question I asked.
I answered every one of your
Could you
questions.
repeat the question I just asked you? Well,
I
you just
think your
went on a whole
analogy is
tangent there. You didn't answer my
stupid
question.
and dumb and unrelated. And unfortunately, you're going to keep making more
Nathan,
extreme
come on, man.
hypotheticals because you're obsessed with philosophy. And really, you should be into or more
Come on,
interested in the
man.
practical effects of the policies you
Now
support.
you're
You
stuttering.
understand?
This isn't going too well for you.
Oh, you're stuttering. You're stuttering. Brother, you're talking to some dude that's sick and you're comparing abortion to rape and you're justifying prison slavery. I think slavery is bad, okay?
Yeah, but
That's
you
my
agree
hot
that in
take.
some contexts, slavery.
Hypothetically, what if you were saving a billion babies, but you needed to rape somebody? Would you not justify the rape to save a million babies? Come on, that's the level of shit. First you say, oh, what is your position on abortion? I say I don't really care about early abortions. I say Roe v. Wade is the compromise. It allows people to get an abortion when they are in extreme situations, but allows for certain states to put whatever restriction that they want when they deem it required, right? I think that that's a fair, but at the end of the day, there are certain protections in those third trimester abortions. I think that's a good position to have. And then you compare it to slavery. I say slavery is bad. What about making rapists into slaves? I say I just have the position that slavery is bad. Or what about What about the prison slavery in general? Slavery is bad. What if you had to force somebody to go swimming to save a life? I'm not gonna force someone to go swimming. Hopefully they do it, right? But if they don't do it, let's say they can't fucking swim, I'm not going to condemn them. Well, what if they can swim? What if, and then to jump to fucking raping a kid? This is why nobody takes philosophy fuck seriously. You go to extreme shit talking about babies getting anally raped. Crazy. Alright, let's see what's going on. Why is slavery bad? Someone said in the chat, abortion necessarily. Nobody wants an abortion, even then the people still get them. Yeah, and the people that get them in third trimester abortions are either people that were like, again, like people that are experienced of violence and forced to have that pregnancy. Or people that want to have that baby. They already bought the crib. They already painted the room, but there's a medical emergency. This person here in YouTube chat says, refreshing to see reasonable person in the live feed. So many brain rotted takes out there. Thank you, Devin. I appreciate that. Bella says, well-treated slaves is crazy. Joseph says, speaking of dumb and unrelated, this channel. Well, thank you for your chat, Joseph. I'm gonna probably restart the stream for the algorithm, because this stream didn't really take off on YouTube, and that's kind of the more important stream. I'm okay with the TikTok algorithm kind of like slowing down pretty quick, but the YouTube one is being particularly slow this evening. Hold up. I'm gonna restart it.